Hey there all you skid McMarking, Captain Corking, hoverboarding, bolt collecting compadres. Welcome to the Milky Donut. Today we're talking about Ratchet & Clank, which is a series I hold close to my heart. Ratchet & Clank is an action platformer developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation 2. Released in November of 2002, the game introduced players to Ratchet, a mechanic living on the planet Veldin, who dreams of adventure and a life more worth living, and Clank, a small robot who escapes from a factory after discovering a dangerous plan by the villain Chairman Drek. Set in the Solana galaxy, the story follows the duo as they travel between planets attempting to stop Drek from destroying worlds to build a new home for his species. You know, typical alien bad guy stuff, nothing super groundbreaking here, but nonetheless, the game combined traditional platforming with third-person shooter mechanics, allowing players to explore larger levels, solve puzzles, and collect bolts used to purchase weapons and gadgets. And since I'm talking about vendors and buying weapons and gadgets, I always loved the weapon vendors, for reasons that don't even really make sense. Arriving to a new planet and visiting the vendor to see what new weapon was available for purchase was always of course exciting, but there was also something comforting about the vendor salesman. The way he would say,
"I got some great bargains for you today,"
like a friendly Canadian, as he recited in his little analog TV. Comfort is a big theme in this game for me. Ratchet is just a chill dude that's down for a careless, fun adventure. Clank has a calming, intelligent demeanor, yet naive and innocent. I mean, I even thought the tutorial narrator always had a soothing voice.
You can also use it in first person by holding down L1.
And of course, the game has a very creative arsenal, including weapons like the Bomb Glove, Doom Glove, and Devastator, all of which blew my mind when I played this game originally, and even to my surprise upon replay, were still just as fun, creative, and innovative as they had always seen before, which of course helped distinguish it from other platformers of the time. Unlike later entries in the series, weapons did not level up through grinding and instead required players to buy the upgrades. This never bothered me the first time I played it, and honestly, it didn't bother me this time either. It would be a problem if there was just not enough nuts and bolts to go around, but the game gives you ample opportunity to save up, and collecting the nuts and bolts is satisfying in itself, so I don't see it as a problem. Ratchet & Clank was released after Insomniac's work on the Spyro the Dragon series. The game was designed to showcase the PlayStation 2's hardware through expansive environments, detailed animations, and physics-based combat. The game went ahead to receive strong critical praise for its humor, visuals, and gameplay variety, earning high review scores and selling millions of copies worldwide, eventually becoming a PlayStation Greatest Hits title, which inevitably led to a long-running franchise and helped redefine early 2000s platformers. Ratchet & Clank, it's just one of those special games, you know? It's one of those games I played around the same time as I played Jak 2, Turok Evolution, Ocarina of Time, Spider-Man, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, and many other bangers that formed a huge part of my childhood on the N64 and PlayStation 2. And being how I recently replayed through Ratchet & Clank on my PS5, was it as good as I remember? Yes. Yes it is. Now, of course, going from modern gameplay and camera work to that of a 24-year-old game, there's of course going to be some ergonomic differences that did feel a bit uncomfortable at first, but I was able to fix most of these relatively quickly by raising the sensitivity settings and reversing the directional controls. Before replaying this game, I was initially worried it wouldn't be as good as I remembered it to be, whether that be because of graphical shortcomings or gameplay issues, especially because a lot of older games with platforming elements don't have as precise movement, making it difficult to gauge jumps over wide gaps or walking along narrow curvy platforms. And to my surprise, the graphics held up a lot better than I thought they would. Now, I did stream it on my PlayStation 5 with high resolution and a 4K TV, but the skeleton was still there. The art design bodes it well to stand the test of time, and it held up nicely. The gameplay mechanics also weren't as harsh as many older games either, having pleasantly fun and responsive combat and movement that would continue to become a staple of the series. The music of Ratchet & Clank can be summarized with one word: 2000s, and man is it good. The soundtrack for Ratchet & Clank was composed by David Bergode, whose music became a defining element of the series. Opposed to using traditional orchestral music common in many games at the time, Bergode created a futuristic electronic score that blended techno, ambient, and industrial sounds to match the game's sci-fi setting and diverse planetary environments. Each planet featured its own unique musical theme, designed to reflect its atmosphere, such as mechanical rhythms for industrial worlds and more relaxed electronic tones for tropical or exploratory areas. Earlier, I mentioned how calmness is a big part of this game for me, and a big part of that is because of the atmosphere of the music and the environments. The game it has an extremely cozy feel, even though the planets are full of enemies that are constantly trying to kill you. Playing this took me right back to being a kid again. Not a care in the world, just me, my room, and my PlayStation 2. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I've said it before in other videos, but I'm just a normie idiot gamer who doesn't understand anything about level design. I just know if I'm having fun playing it, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. That being said, I used to love the planets of this game. I used to. And I still do. Although they did feel smaller than I remembered them being, each planet still managed to pull me in just as much as they always have, while having unique and vastly different atmospheres, enemy variation, and ways of traversal. Once you upgrade Clank to become your own personal helicopter, your means of traversing the world completely changes. Blackwater City has always been a standout for me because of the hoverboard race. This section of the game is one of my fondest memories while playing, so I was excited to finally experience it again. Admittedly, it was a bit frustrating with the outdated controls. The game encourages you to pull off tricks, yet yeets you completely off of the track half the time you do anything more than a single flip. I ended up just not doing tricks, and I had a lot more fun playing it that way. However, the race isn't the only thing that this game gave me fond memories of. The girl that you talked to get into the race was legitimately my first ever hear me out before I even knew what that was. I mean, they knew damn well what they were doing here with this figure and these jiggle physics. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I mean, call me Skid McMilky, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, 10 out of 10 game, honestly. However, Blackwater City was far from the only place to capture my attention in this game. I mean, there was Iridia, the desert mining world. There's Eudora, the jungle logging planet where you're hyped up to fight this big lieutenant, and then you show up and he just comedically runs away and you don't even have to fight anybody on this planet. Orxon, the toxic Blarg homeworld, which also features the split gameplay between Ratchet and Clank, which I just love every time you get to play with Clank in this game. He's so adorable, and it's totally switches up the mood, and it's great. Ultanis Orbit, which is actually a flying level, and if you've watched my Turok video, I hate flying levels. Flying levels and water levels just usually do not work well in games. I don't know what it is, but I actually had a good time. It wasn't that bad, so that was great. The game consists of multiple main boss fights throughout your playthrough. Earlier encounters introduce large-scale combat challenges such as fighting the mechanical Blargian Snagglebeast, which requires players to balance dodging attacks and using explosive weapons effectively. Later battles increase in complexity, including confrontations with heavily armored robots and security forces that emphasize strategic positioning rather than simple attack patterns. However, most of these fights were easier than I remembered them to be. They still posed as a good challenge and a ton of fun to partake in, which at the end of the day is all that really matters. One of the most memorable encounters occurs against the self-proclaimed superhero Captain Quark, whose boss fight combines humor with fast-paced combat and serves as an important turning point in the story. I remember feeling so betrayed when I found out this dude was just evil and using me as the dumb little pawn I was. The final battle against Chairman Drek features multiple phases and escalating difficulty, requiring players to fully utilize their upgraded weapons and gadgets. Unlike many platformers of its era, the game's boss fights emphasize shooting mechanics and mobility over simple pattern memorization, helping establish the series' identity as a hybrid between action shooter and platformer, while providing climactic moments that advance both gameplay challenge and narrative progression. To say the least, this game really did hold up better than I thought it would for me. I was very worried because, like I said, this game is a huge nostalgia blast for me. It was one of my first games that I really remember playing, and to my pleasant surprise, it held up pretty well. I'm planning on doing videos for each game in the series, at least the main title games. I haven't played through every single one of them, but most of them I have, so I have to replay through the ones I have played and then play the ones I haven't. But expect those to come in the future. But for now, I'm happy to report that Ratchet & Clank is still a certified glazer. Now yes, there were things that didn't hold up quite as well. I mean, some of the movement was a little bit clunky, and it was a little bit easier than I remember it being, but I was young when I played this game, and you play more advanced games as you get older, so inevitably that was going to be the case. But for what it is, Ratchet & Clank is certified glazed. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe to become a guardian of the glaze, and I'll see you next time on the Milky Donut.